Okay, everybody, today we are doing a cheesecake. About a year and a half ago, I started this ketogenic diet, and the first thing you do when you start on a diet like that is you start looking for substitutions for sweets and bread. Pies, that's hard to substitute that, but a cheesecake, since the main ingredient is cheese and that is keto, you can make a pretty good cheesecake. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you how to do this. Make a crust. It's a chocolate crust. It's going to be made with almond flour and cacao powder and a little bit of cinnamon and some ingredients. And then I'm going to show you how to make the filling and the cheesecake itself. We bake it at 325 for an hour. There is no water bath in there. It's not needed. There's no wrapping the pan in tin foil. You bake it for 55 minutes until it gets just a little bit jiggly left in the center, and then you take it out. We're also going to be making a strawberry cheesecake, so that's even better. So let's get started. We're going to start off with, I got 6 tablespoons of butter here. I use that good Kerrygold butter. I'm just going to put that in the bowl, 6 tablespoons, completely melted. And into that, I got some sweetener here. I use monk fruit that I get at Costco, and what I do with it, I just buy the regular monk fruit, and I got a coffee grinder that I use for spices, and I put about a 1/4 cup of the regular monk fruit in that grinder, and then I powder it up, and it makes a nice little confectioner's type sugar. The bag says that monk fruit is a 1-to-1 exchange with regular sugar, but don't believe it. It is not. It is much sweeter than regular sugar, so I find about a 1/2 teaspoon of the monk fruit sweetener is equal to a teaspoon of regular sugar. So this thing here, I got about a 1/4 cup, a little bit more maybe, but not much more. I'm just going to throw that in there. So 1/4 cup of that in there. And here, as you can see, I got my cacao powder. It's non-sweetened, it's just good, organic, really good tasting cacao powder. And I'm also going to put about a 1/4 cup of that in there. Put that down there. And the last thing, as far as these ingredients go, is some cinnamon. I put cinnamon there, gives it a little bit of a kick, and so just a couple of dashes of cinnamon, as much as you like. I'm guessing that's 1/2 teaspoon. And the very last ingredient is, of course, the main basic thing, almond flour. And almond flour, I also get this as the Kirkland brand at Costco. It's really good almond flour. And we're going to use a cup, 1 1/4 cups of this almond flour here. Just level cups, no packing it or nothing. And this is just a 1/2 cup in case you want them, so I'm putting 3. So it's 1 cup, and then 1/2 of this is a 1/4. So there we go. So that's 1 1/4 cups of almond flour. What we're going to do is just take a fork and just mix it all up real good. It's going to get really crumbly and grainy. You ain't gonna think it's gonna work, but it's just like making a graham cracker crust. It's the same principle. It's the same thing. So you want to mix it until it's all good and mixed. And then we're going to take our springform cheesecake pan and just press it into the bottom. Okay, so I got all that mixed up nice and good in here. You can see it's what it is. It's just like a graham cracker crust. Maybe a little bit more butter in it because it is almond flour. But what we're going to do is put this in the spring form. And really the best, some people bake them, but with this type of crust, I find the best if you can put it in the refrigerator for 30 minutes or so just to get all the butter solidified again in there, and it's going to make the crust stand up once you put it in spring form. But I am going to, since I'm making this cheesecake on demand, I'm going to put this in the freezer after I get into spring form. So let me get my pan here. I got my pan. You don't need to grease the pan or anything or flour or nothing because, like I said, a lot of butter in this, so you ain't gonna need it. So just put that in there. And the best things to use for this is the utensils that God gave us, our own hands here. But once we get it all flattened out there and pushed to the sides, I'm going to take the bottom of this and just to make it round off, make it look a little bit better. But for the most work, the old God-given hands works fantastic with this type of stuff. And you just want to press it down there. And on the bottom of your spring form, where the bottom part, it claps together and there's that little bitty ridge. You just want to bring the crust up just of that, about 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch. You don't need to bring it all the way up the pan. Unless you make a lot of this crust, and then you can, but for this, we are just taking it. About there. So I'll go ahead and get this all put in here. Because if you don't get it above that where the ring and the outside of the pan meet, it will leak. But as long as this crust is covering that, you ain't gonna have no problem. You ain't gonna need to wrap it in tin foil. And like I said, we're not doing a water bath like you would with a traditional cheesecake. This will just cook, 325 in my oven, 55 minutes exactly is perfect. It comes out, it does not crack. And if it does crack, you know what you do with the crack? You fill it with topping, so it's a good thing. So yeah, we're almost done here. Now I'll take my handy dandy measuring cup and get that just around the edges. Pat it down a little bit, make it a little bit neater looking. And when it comes to preheating your oven, once it hits, stays at 325, and once it beeps and says it's heated, you always want to let it oven, after it reaches that point, go another 5 minutes. That way it takes, if there is any cold spots or anything in the oven, there's completely heated up in there. So yeah, just after the beep, give it another 5 minutes, and that will completely make sure top to bottom of your oven is heated. Okay, just about done here. Oh, it smells good. You can smell that butter and the chocolate. Just a touch of cinnamon. Okay, so let's see if you can see there. It is just all in there. I don't know how well you can see that, but just like that. And now I'm going to pop this in the freezer. While we're making our cheesecake filling, it's going to take about 15 minutes to do that. And I will be back when I clean up the station and set it up for the cheesecake. Okay, folks, we are back. As you can see, our workstation a little bit different. We made the crust, put in the pan. I've got that sitting in the freezer now. Cause I ain't got the full time to wait for it to completely chill out in the icebox in the refrigerator. So I've got it in the freezer. It's probably about 15 minutes and that's gonna be perfect. And so I got my old KitchenAid here, and in this bowl, what I got here is, I went ahead and put in the cream cheese. It's 24 ounces of cream cheese. Really room temperature. You don't want it cold. You want it nice and soft where it's going to mix up right. And so what we're going to do now is we're just going to turn it on using the paddle attachment here on a low, and just get that cream cheese all nice and smooth and beat up there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add some eggs to it. Let's lift this up here. There we go. So you don't need to do this too fast because it's going to be room temperature. So just beat it until it's nice and smooth. Okay, got that in there. Now I got 4 eggs in this bowl, the whites and everything. I cracked them in the bowl just to make sure there's no bad eggs there. And again, these eggs are room temperature. You want everything room temperature, because if not, it's going to get, the oven's going to be cold, and so it's not going to cook right. The only thing that is not room temperature is our strawberry mixture that we're going to be throwing in here. I find that when you put in fruit in a cheesecake, if it's cold, the cheese and everything around it will start to cook and firm up first before that does, and so it won't get all out of shape, and when you cut it, just a syrup on the other. So that's the only thing that you do want cold. And so we're going to turn on the Vitamix again. I'm sorry, not a Vitamix, a KitchenAid. We're going to turn that back on, then I'm going to just add the eggs in there, just 2 at a time until they get all mixed up. And here we go. All right, there's 2 in there. Let that get the mixing up. A little bit more. And the reason why you add them slow is just to keep it from splashing and flying all over the place. Okay, now we can add the rest of it there. Let that all beat up in there. And once in a while, you want to shut it off, let it down, and then take a scooper and just scrape the sides of it. That way you get everything off the bottom and it all gets mixed up, and we'll just go ahead and do that right now. Yeah, because it is stuck to the side of the bowl. So you want to scrape it all the way down to the bottom because it gets stuck around the bottom of the bowl. This is actually, I don't know, it's kind of fun scraping it down. Okay, we got that there. Scrape that off of there. Now stick to the spatula. And we'll turn it back on. We're also going to be adding some sour cream and some sweetener, but we'll get this all beat up nice first. And you can do all this mixing with the regular hand blender. It's just going to take you a little bit longer. It's more work, but it will work if you got a regular egg beater with little spinning things. That's perfectly fine. And I'm also going to add in here right now is I got just the zest of one medium orange. You want to be careful when you zest it. You don't go too deep or else you're going to start getting the white part, and that's kind of bitter. So just the zest of one medium orange. So about a teaspoon of orange zest. We're going to throw that in there while it's running. That way you don't clump up in there. Now we'll speed it up a little bit. Okay, now we're going to start adding our sweetener in just a little at a time. I have got about 3/4 of a cup of sweetener. Sometimes I don't add it all in because it's, like I said, the monk fruit, it is really sweet. So, but different people like different sweetness levels. So we'll just add it in a little bit at a time. So that's half a cup. And you don't need to worry about the speed. I know a lot of people worry about that speed, making bubbles in your cheesecake, but once you put it in the pan and you pop your cheesecake pan a little bit and jake up and down and smack it, all the air bubbles will come up to the top, so don't worry about that. Let's get a process. A little bit more sweetener here. All right, let's give it a good mix now. Okay, we're going to slow it down a little bit. Then I'm going to add in about a tablespoon and a half of vanilla extract. Okay. Now we're going to shut it down, lower the bowl, and scrape the sides again, just to get it all in there. Oh, it smells fantastic. It smells the orange and the vanilla. All right. And before we start mixing it again, I'll give it a taste. Now we're going to add in the sour cream. Like I said, it's only about 1/4 of a cup. I just got a big tablespoon. You want to mix it up and make sure there's no water. You know, when you open up sour cream, they have water on top. You don't want the water, just the sour cream. So yeah, just about 1/4 of a cup. Just put it in there and get it all off the spoon. Use your fingers if you have to. Yeah. Lift it back up this way and give it all another good mix. Okay, that is nice and mixed and blended to where we want it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add the strawberries, but we are going to do that with just your the spatula there. You just fold them in, because you put it in there, it's just going to beat it up and it's not going to be good. So we're just going to take the bowl off the mixer, and then we're going to put them in there with just fold them in with the spatula. So let me get some of that stuff out of the way here. Put the bowl down. You want to make sure you get all that off the paddle. There we go. Throw that in the sink. Lift that right off of there. Now I got strawberries here, so why do the strawberries before that? These are frozen strawberries. I find that with making cheesecake, frozen strawberries work better because it changes them somehow once you freeze them and thaw them out. Fresh strawberries work, but anyway, I got about a cup of frozen strawberries here, and what I did is I took a tablespoon of the monk fruit sweetener I'm using, just put it over the strawberries, mixed it up just like you do for shortcake, and let that take all the water and liquid out of the strawberries and mix it up. And so we're going to take it in there. As you can see there, it's got there. We're just going to start adding them in there. Let me get a spoon. You just want to add the strawberries, and if there's any liquid that come out with the strawberries, that's fine, but there's going to be a lot of liquid in the bowl you don't want to throw in there, so just the strawberries. So just sprinkle them around. Like I said, it's only about a cup. There we go. Put that in there. Then take the old handy dandy spatula. I always tilt the bowl up, and then you just fold it in there. It's not a stirring, it's just a folding. Scraping down the edge of the bowl. That way you're getting all the other stuff out there. And just fold it in there. I mean, no more than 15, 20 times. Get everything good mix. Scrape in the bowl. Okay. Now we're going to get that pan out of the freezer, and we're going to put this in there. And I'm going to show you what I mean by tapping it and smacking it. So let me go ahead and get this thing out of the way real quick. Okay. So yeah, that crust has been in the freezer for just while we was making that thing there, and it's nice and firm. The butter's settled, so now it's not going to go nowhere. And so now there all is to it is just taking the mixture and just pouring it in the crust. Making sure you're scraping everything down, getting all that goodness out of there. Okay. So we got that there. Now I'll show you by tapping it. You give it a good shake and make sure it's all around there. Oh, that tastes fantastic. And you just tap it like that. And when you do it, you can see the air bubbles coming up and popping. Give it a few smacks on the side. It's just like laying concrete out in the yard. You just smack it like that, and the air bubbles just work up out of there. Okay, there's no more air bubbles coming. So what you do now is you just put this on, I put it on a flat sheet, on a sheet pan, that way it's easier to handle in and out of the oven. I stick it in the oven, I just leave it there, I just forget about it for 55 minutes. Then I take it out, set it on the counter, and I take a really thin bladed knife and go around the edges here. First I'll let the cake cool for 30 minutes, sitting on the counter. Then I'll take a thin bladed knife and just go around the edges and separate from the edges. That way, when we do release it, it's not gonna just pull the cheesecake apart. So the hardest thing about making the cheesecake is the waiting. We're gonna bake it, take it out, let it cool for 30 minutes. Then I'm gonna take a knife and edge it. And then I'm putting this baby into the refrigerator overnight because it needs to completely set up. I mean, it will be set up, it'll be nice and firm, be nice and creamy. This is just a wonderful cheesecake. So yeah, I'm gonna bake this in there, and through the magic of video, I will see you guys tomorrow. And in the meantime, like, subscribe, share everything you do on YouTube. Leave a comment, whatever you want to do. All right, I will just see you in a few seconds. Okay, folks, it is the next day. The cheesecake has been sitting in the icebox overnight, and let's go ahead and take the band off and see what we got. Give it a shake around there to get that ring busted. There it is. And there you have it, folks. As you can see the crust, it all cooked up with chocolate. The cake is nice and perfect thickness, no cracks in the top. So let's go ahead and cut it and see what it looks like. Put that right down there. Right, my handy dandy cheesecake cutting knife. Just cut this a piece out right here. And there you have it, folks. You can see the strawberries in there. The cheesecake is set up nice and firm, both sides. This is just a wonderful, wonderful tasting cheesecake. We'll put that on there, and I'll show you what it looks like on the inside. As you can see, it's set up inside. You can see the strawberries in there. Everything is just great about this cheesecake, folks. So there you have it. My keto cheesecake. Like I said, I wouldn't watch all sorts of YouTube videos. I went through the internet recipes and all that stuff on keto, and this is what I came up with. It's a fantastic cheesecake, and I hope you like it. So yeah, make it. Like the channel, subscribe to the channel, share the channel, comment on the channel, all that YouTube stuff. Until next time, folks, God bless and good eats.